talk to us about, I suppose, replacement females. So we've 6 heifers here, we'll say, in front of us, different, we'll say, breeding to them, different ages, different weights. But you've some, I suppose, these are the future of the herd. There are big decisions we made on every suckler farm as to what heifer comes into the herd to make the future cow. I suppose the first key question you've up there is breed your own or purchase. It's a common dilemma on beef farms. Do I go to the trouble of breeding my own replacements, or do I just go out and purchase them and concentrate on terminal traits within my own herd? What are you saying is best?
Absolutely, and again, there is nothing necessarily best. It depends on the farmer's own situation, how big his herd is, how many stock bulls he has. Maybe he wants to take all progeny to slaughter or to sell his weanlings. Maybe it's easier for him to buy in. Maybe some of the downsides to purchasing in, there's maybe biosecurity issues, you're in less control of your own genetics. Very much down to the farmer's own situation, herd size, lots of different things he has to assess there. The next one then, I suppose, is what's the genetic merit of the current herd? If it's very low, maybe you should go to a herd that has a very high genetic merit herd and get that initial injection
so
of strong genetics.
It'll take too long, we'll say, to get up to it.
Yeah, like there's too much of a generational gap. It may take you 2-3 generations to get to where the top performing herds are at. Whereas if you buy some replacements from those top performing herds, you're taking out some of that generational gap and you're going straight to that. Once you get there, maybe you can then look at breeding your own replacements. Again, very much depends on where an individual herd is at. The farmer just needs to ask themselves that questions. The last one, AI, look, the elephant in the room, 20% of our suckler herd is AI bred. The dairy herd, is, in terms of their replacements, are probably up at around 60%. We're lagging very much behind in genetic gain because of that. Gives us lots of options. I remember Gary in an earlier talk described the suckler herd sometimes as maybe a bag of licorice all sorts. You can pick a bull for a particular cow depending on where that cow is strong or weak. Also an awful lot less risk because you can use multiple sires, okay? And this comes into the whole theory in the dairy side of using teams of bulls, spreading your risk. Suckler herds, farmers tend to say, look, I have a small herd, I'm not going to use a team of bulls. If you have 20 cows at a 60 to 70% conception rate, that herd is going to need 30 straws to get that herd all in calf. No reason they can't use 4 or 5 different bulls, okay? So there are just some key questions before the farmer ever sets about breeding or buying their replacements. 3 simple questions to ask themselves.
Using Eurostar indexes, I suppose you people say Eurostar indexes are working on my farm, you people say they aren't working. Tell us a little bit, I suppose, how they go about trying to apply that tool. It is a tool to your herd for the best advantage of your herd.
Yeah, so what we're trying to do on this board is in 3 simple steps, so you can take home from here a simple message around selecting replacements and using the indexes when doing it. The first question you have to ask yourself, again like the first one over, is what are you trying to produce? Lots of different systems, some guys producing weanlings, some trying to breed replacements, some taking animals to beef. Those systems need slightly different genetics.
So that will dictate your sire selection going forward into what you're picking.
Absolutely, and dictates the areas you need to improve. If, for example, you're producing weanlings and your cows are poor for carcass weight, then you're in a spot of bother because your calves aren't going to have the weight and the carcass and the shape when you're selling them through the ring. So again, think about what you're trying to produce. The second step then is, where are my cows strong and where are they weak? What we have here is an example of the Eurostar, the Herd Plus Eurostar report. This is the herd average, so this isn't an individual female. We're looking at the bigger picture of the herd now, okay? There's 28 females in the herd, and the system, they're breeding their own replacements and they're taking their males to slaughter, okay? So first of all, the bulls that this herd should be using are replacement index bulls because they're looking to breed replacements, okay? If we go through where the herd is strong and where it's weak, it's like the traffic light system. Carcass weight is in green, 5 stars in carcass weight, plus 27 kilos, very strong in carcass weight. Without even seeing this herd, we know that this is probably a continental type herd of cows, okay?
So loads of carcass weight behind the cows in this farm.
Absolutely. We look at where we can improve. The overall replacement index is 82 euros. It's above average, but it's at 4 stars. I mean, there are some herds in the country at 130, 40, 50 euros. We can improve by a lot in that, okay? What the overall replacement index does, it gives you the overall picture of all the genetics that are important for a cow. So milk and fertility and weight gain and carcass weight, maintenance, all of these traits. So we can improve on the overall index. Specifically within those traits, milk is an area we can improve. Again, we're in amber here. The figure is plus, and a plus figure is good for milk, but we could go an awful lot higher there in milk, okay? It's average compared to the national suckler herd. Calving interval is in red, so we're in a bit of trouble here. We're back at 1 star, so the genetics in this herd for fertility are quite poor.
You need a negative figure in the calving interval to pull your calving interval back.
Absolutely. On milk we want a plus figure, the higher it is the better. On calving interval we want a minus figure, and the more minus it is the better. So you're going in opposite directions because you want to increase milk, you want to decrease calving interval, okay? So basically 3 very simple steps for this herd. They need to maintain carcass weight, so that's the smiley face in green. We need to replace the overall index and the milk figure, and we need to significantly decrease the calving interval, so you want a minus figure here on that. Okay, so quite simple. That herd then goes out to select a bull. If that herd goes out and picks a bull that's already high in carcass and poor in fertility, they're not making any progress, okay? They need a bull that'll increase the overall index, increase milk, and dramatically increase the calving interval picture.
So there is a thought out there that as we drive towards more maternal type cows and drive towards milk and drive towards fertility, we're going to take a big check on our carcass weight and our carcass conformation, and it's really going to have a negative impact on the quality of our cattle going forward. You have some interesting data pulled out of the database showing that that's not the case, and that we are able to maintain, we'll say, good terminal traits while increasing our maternal traits in our cows.
Absolutely. So what this graph shows here are the first calved heifers over the last 20 years calving into the suckler herd. And since about 2010, 2012, we're slowly starting to increase the average replacement index of these females. If you look at the performance on the ground, and we talk about efficiency of cows and efficiency of fertility, we look at the national calving stats for 2014. Calves per cow per year was at 0.8, so your average 20 cow suckler herd was producing 16 calves. That is now in 2017 increased to 0.87, so we're about, in a 20 cow suckler herd, we have 1.5 calves on average extra. You put a figure on those, it could be anything from 12 to 1500 euros depending on the value of those calves. Calving interval has increased by 2 weeks, so in 4 years, with this gain in genetics, we've made massive increases in terms of calving interval. We're still quite high at 393, we still need to drop it by another month to get to that 365, but we're going the right direction and we're moving there pretty quickly. Heifers calved at 24 months, and I know Alan is going to speak about it in a second. Again, it's pretty low, we're still at only 26%, but in a couple of years we've increased that significantly as well, and we're moving in the right direction. Now, a lot of people think that because we're increasing the replacement index, that the carcass side of things is suffering, but that's not the case. The replacement index, what it's doing is trying to bring us forward in a balanced way. Maintain carcass and hold milk and fertility as well. Breeding a balanced suckler cow is what it's trying to do. This is analysing steer performance, so all the steers that came from the national suckler herd in 2014 and compare them with 2017. So you've probably about 250,000 animals being analysed here. It's a big subset of animals, and these are beef animals, so beef sire off the suckler cow. They're not dairy cross animals. We've increased carcass weight by 5.5 to 6 kilos. Carcass conformation is the same, so the quality hasn't decreased. We're not getting poorer quality carcasses. But look at this one here at the end. They're being slaughtered on average a month and a half sooner. So these animals are obviously coming in at heavier carcasses, but what this is telling us is we're breeding more efficient animals now in every way. These animals are getting to these weights more quickly, which obviously has a big benefit in terms of output and cost for suckler herds.
Huge. We have 6 heifers here in front of us, and we're going to go through quickly, I suppose, in terms of using the index as a tool to select the heifers for the next generation of cows on your farm. And we're going to talk a little bit of visual assessment. The people say ICBF want us to pick our heifers off a sheet of paper, but what you're saying here today, Chris, visual assessment is up there, number one, in terms of looking at the heifer first and making sure you're happy with her attributes, her growth rate, her functionality, that she seals the deal for that job.
As the heading on the board said, using all the tools available. So visual assessment, are we hitting weights, are animals docile, are they functional, and do the figures match up? We want it all coming together, okay? I suppose we'll ask everyone here, if they were to pick their favourite heifer out of the bunch, which one are they going to go for?
Yeah, so hands up, we'll say I'll pick this red heifer first, popular heifer the last time. Is it 968?
She's 824,
826. Sorry, 826, a ZCH heifer, limousine cross Solaire. Hands up if you were going to bring home a heifer. What heifer would you bring her home? With one brave young man at the front here going to bring up.
There's more.
2, 3, 4, 5, do a count there, lad, 6 or 7. We're going to do another one here, the left-hand heifer beside her. Again, very square heifer, maybe some white on her, traditionally seen as a milk attribute without looking at paper. What are we saying? Any hands up for the heifer with the white on her? No heifers wanted here. Hold on, no, one man for the white heifer, or for the heifer with the white on. And the last of this heifer here will say, again, a heifer with white on her belly, white stripe on her head. What are we saying, people? Anybody bring that heifer home? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So our most popular heifer is this heifer here. Chris, tell us more in terms of what we have in front of us.
Okay, so what we're going to start with is number 1, a visual assessment. Docility. Any issues with docility here? Are we happy enough? They're all reasonably quiet?
I think so, we're happy that they're quiet.
Good enough. Functional and weight gain. So functionality here is not just feet and legs, but are they functional in terms of breeding? So what I'll ask you here is, look, is there any heifer here that will be knocked out straight away before we go any further?
So, first heifer to call, if there was a heifer that you weren't going to breed, which heifer is it? The small one, right, the white one. Everybody has said that, Chris, so we're not happy with this white one. She's no future here. She's gone.
Yeah. So she's not hitting weight. She's only 407 kilos. We're now heading on for the 1st of July. A lot of farmers might have wanted to breed her 60 days ago. She might have only been 360, 370 kilos back then. Okay. She actually is one of the highest figures here as well, but she's just not physically suitable, so she's knocked out now.
So even though she has high figures, you're not going to take a chance on her. She hasn't done the weight.
She's not, like, structurally, she's just not there. She's not growth enough. Farmers may run into issues calving her.
First column is genotype tip that will reveal to the audience what in terms of genotype. You're saying you want your heifer to be genotyped to increase the reliability of your Eurostar index.
Yeah, and as well as that, it also makes sure that the mammy and daddy are correct, so there's no sire and dam issues, okay? So we're off to a good start. All our heifers are genotyped, so we know that the parentage is right, and we've higher reliabilities on the figures, okay? The next thing we look at is the overall picture, the overall replacement index. Okay. So what's that saying for us? Lots of different figures up here now.
So our highest heifer is 144, which is number 230,
which is this heifer here, this bigger heifer, which I think was the most popular one visually as well.
So we're going well there. She's 144.
The red heifer over there, the quite muscly heifer, she was 826. She's a 3-star heifer, so her index is actually less than half of the other heifer, okay? We'll see now in a second as we go through what these subtraits, so carcass weight, milk and calving interval, will reveal a little bit more, okay? The reason it's important to look at these, the overall index gives us the overall picture, but maybe maybe a particular herd needs
down a little bit more into the index.
Exactly. If a farmer needs, for example, increased milk, he needs to look at the milk figure within the heifers he's buying or the stock bull he's buying as well.
So even though they have a high replacement index, they may have a poor milk figure that we're going to see now.
Exactly. Okay. So one of the first things that stands out for me here is the small little white heifer, the Angus heifer we've culled. Look at her carcass value compared to the rest of them. She's way behind, and it's going through on the ground.
Why is carcass important? If I want cows that will have milk and fertility, why is carcass important?
But at the end of the day, we're still breeding suckler animals. We need the cow to pass on good beef genetic merit to our calf.
Agree, disagree, somebody argue with him that he's wrong. No. Happy enough. They're happy enough to bring them home. The one on the right, so a question here, the one on the right, is she going to be too big, Chris? Is she going to be, are you against, would say, big suckler cows? Do you want them small? Or
if we look at her weight, she is actually the heaviest. She's 568 kilos, so potentially. But again, what about sire selection? We can use a sire to maybe bring down size. You know, again, we have lots of options with our sires. Just in terms of the females here as well, very good animals, good growly cattle, but maybe these will work more to a farmer to slaughter as opposed to breed.
It's a pity to bin those genetics. If the genetics is there to do very good weight gain, it's a pity not to use that and capitalise on that.